On November 2nd, 2016, all of our lives changed for the good. The 108-year curse of the Billy Goat was snapped, and the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. On today's episode of Locked On Cubs, we recap the 6-year anniversary. We talk about our experiences. Come on and join us in Go Cubs.
Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cubs alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Pleased to be with you for a Wednesday episode. Wednesday being November 2nd, 2022, which is the 6-year anniversary of the World Series victory for the Chicago Cubs, as Sam explained in the cold open. So because this episode is for that day, it's all going to be about the Fall Classic and the Cubs winning first time in 108 years that day. So many memories of that day, so many moments in the actual baseball game, which we'll get to later in the show. There's just so much from this, and we hope it to be a place to reminisce, to celebrate, to emote, to have some fun as we usually do. If this is your first time here, thanks for making us your first listen. We're lifelong Cubs fans, now having a discussion with you on all things Northsiders. Sam, a lot of places that we can start here. I just have a great feeling about this show. And in a way, I can't believe it's been 6 years. But just a very firm memory for me that I'll be forever thankful for.
I'd like to start out Sunday, October 30th, 2016.
Please.
Okay. So at that point, I was very focused. At this time, guys, I was doing Facebook Lives for every
that's right.
post game. So I had a fairly large voice at that time and a decent following. And my whole sentiment is forget about Kluber, forget about 6, forget about 7. Just win today. Just please. Just get it to a game 6, and then we'll forget about it on Monday and get to business on Tuesday. So we survived game 5 at home. That was Sunday, October 30th. That was Lester. That was Chapman. That was a 3-2 victory. Monday is an off day. Okay. Mm-hmm. That was on Halloween. That's when the Chicago Bears hosted the Minnesota Vikings. I went out for my mom's birthday. We watched that ball game, kind of just removed myself from the game. From the Cubs. And then that Tuesday, November 1st was game 6. If you remember that game 6, Matt, that was a very easy, non-stressful kind of blowout win. So for me, about the 5th, 6th inning, I was already thinking about game 7. So real quick, I know I'm going a little long here, but I just want to kind of set the scene, and you could do the same. I wake up Wednesday, November 2nd. At that time, I had just graduated college. I had a part-time gig. I called in. I said, absolutely not today. I cannot work. I cannot be around people. Okay. It was also my birthday. It was my 23rd birthday. And so I'm getting calls from everybody wishing me a happy birthday, but every conversation turns into what is going to happen tonight.
Of course.
Right? And I, as I said on the show yesterday, I couldn't eat. I remember I had a smoothie. That was it. I had a couple of my close friends come over to watch the game. You and I weren't really friendly at this point.
No, not at all.
There's no bad blood. We just never really hung out.
Yeah. Wasn't our existence yet.
And so my mom, I was still with my mom at the time. And my mom did like a whole birthday thing. She brought pizza and beefs and sandwiches and desserts. And my friends were over, and I was almost a little disappointed because she knows better than that. I said, Mom, this isn't like a July night where we're getting together watching a Sunday nighter. I don't want any of this around. I literally said it. You could ask Anthony. He was there. It's my current roommate. I said, hey, this is business. My other friend Nico was over. You know Nico, obviously. I said, this is business. All I want for my birthday is everybody locked in. I don't want anybody talking unless it's about the game. Every single pitch, we're locked in. That's all that's going to happen. Because my dad had explained to me, I said, Anthony and Nico were a little different. This was going to be the most important night of our lives, sporting wise. It won't get any bigger than this. It doesn't matter if it's the Bears. It doesn't matter if it's another Cubs team. That night was the most important night of our sports watching history, and I knew it at the time. And I'll save some stuff because I've been talking too long. But that was the scene for me. It was a big day.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and I wish I had a memory to that level of detail. Maybe I'll get that checked out at some point this winter, or work on that, because I've been noticing that more about myself. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, one of the bigger highlights, was the first home game for the Cubs in the World Series, which was Game 3.
1-0 loss to Tomlin.
I just went down to Wrigley kind of without a plan.
Yeah.
And went to a friend's place in Wrigleyville. But I just went. Like, I went right from work to the Metra, took the train in, just wanted to take it in.
Mm-hmm.
Got an Uber to, somewhere near the stadium, and just like slowly walked all the way through to my friend's spot. And I'll never forget that walk, because that's what we always visualized and imagined, and it was actually there. And so to actually live that reality that close to the ballpark was amazing, and it was a great joy to be there. I was also in the same area for a couple of the Dodgers games, where you could even hear the stadium from where we were, which was close, but also not that close, but it was just so loud that you could hear. And I remember on Game 7, not really asking around about people's plans, because knowing myself as I did even then, I knew it was better to be inside and be with my mom and dad, because I was living with them at the time as well. And hopefully I don't well, we'll see. I might get emotional during the show, but
Sure.
I also remember for the actual game, we made a decision to sync up the radio call, because
Beautiful.
we really wanted to have that as the soundtrack to that night. So to hear the Pat Hughes call live when they actually won was insane.
Right.
So yeah, it was a really amazing time.
Right. The only thing I'll add, and then we'll talk about the specifics of the game.
Okay.
The only thing I will add, I just want to emphasize again, I'm obviously a big sports fan, and I like to think that I know a lot about sports. I remember watching the Bears Super Bowl in 2006. I remember watching Illinois basketball play in the championship in 2005.
Great examples.
I even remember, just going back to the Cubs and the NLCS that year. That day, I felt like I was getting ready to, I felt like I was getting ready for like a heavyweight, like a fight. Like I had that feeling. I can't explain. I haven't had it since either, by the way.
Sure.
The only thing I could somewhat compare it to was like in 2014, watching my favorite athlete Messi play in the World Cup. But that was in the World Cup final, and that didn't go well. But it was just different because I knew it meant so much to everybody around me,
Totally.
And so to people that weren't alive at the time too, and it was just, I just remember that day. I felt like I was a part of the team, and I'll get to the game specifics after we.
Well,
we do it.
It's the biggest sports story of all time.
Yeah, it's up there.
And especially when you have a team sport, like there was conversation around, I remember like Tiger Woods and you might have, other stories about their comebacks or what have you, or their arrivals, but those are individuals. And so when you have a team that hadn't won in so long and had a rabid fan base, and you saw the ascent that they were climbing, and it was like, wow, they're really close, and I think they're going to do it. There's nothing like that in a team sport, and so I don't That's not going to be replicated because that was the ultimate mountain in team sports.
Well, and forgive me, I do not know anything about hockey, so please,
Yeah.
I don't have a Blackhawks brain here.
I have good
So
memories of that.
okay, so take away the Blackhawks for a second. The big championship winners, besides for the Cubs, the '05 White Sox, the '90s Bulls. These are teams that I'm familiar with,
Yeah.
and the '85 Bears were all extremely dominant. Right, the '05 Sox never had any adversity; they dominated the whole way. The '90s Bulls, had the greatest player in the history of maybe any sport on their team.
Right.
And then the '85 Bears were arguably the greatest team ever. Yes, this Cubs team won 103 games, but they were down 3-1.
Crazy.
So you had that adversity element to where I really put myself in a mindset of an athlete, of like, okay, I'm not worried about Kluber in game 7. I'm not worried about going back to Cleveland. Sunday night, we win this game. Boom.
Right. Day to day.
Game 6, we win this game. Boom. And we will get to Kluber in game 7 after the following, Matthew.
And they were down 2-1 in Los Angeles.
Right.
So they made 2 comebacks.
Right.
Which is absurd. So let's get into the game once the first pitch was thrown. And there's so much to go over. Very excited. Today's episode is brought to you by Roan. Have you noticed the pains of dress shirts nowadays? What about the hassle of changing clothes for different activities? Why hasn't there been a dress shirt that just makes you feel good? Well, now there is. The dress shirt was due for a radical reinvention, and Roan stepped up to the challenge. Roan's commuter shirt is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible shirt known to man, and here's why. Roan's comfortable 4-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. It's time to feel confident with a wrinkle-free shirt without the hassle. And with Roan's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the shirt. It's that easy. Plus, with Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day. And on top of that, Roan is 100% washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. The commuter shirt can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Listen up. Head to roan.com/lockedon and use promo code lockedon to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/lockedon and use the code lockedon. It's time to find your corner office comfort. And we're going to find a little comfort right now. We're actually talking about the World Series, specifically Game 7, Cubs Indians, as the game got off to a short recap here, and then we'll get into moments.
Sure.
While we all expected a wild finish, Sam, to what was an overall exciting series, Game 7 proved to be an absolute thrill ride, because you have the Cubs with a sizable lead.
5-1.
Then the Indians storm back. The 9th inning concludes with both teams remaining tied. The skies open up. The rain falls. You have the delay, and then the Cubs eventually, secure the biggest win in franchise history. Do we start at the start of this game, or where would you like to go?
I'll take you just through my emotions here. So I felt going into the game, I felt confident.
Yeah.
Then I was like, all right, let's see what happens. Fowler hits the leadoff home run. Okay, that gives you a little bit of a jolt. That makes you feel good.
Oh yeah.
I knew Hendricks was going to pitch well. When we got out to that 5-1 lead, I felt comfortable. I was like, getting there. Let's go. It just felt like that night when Lester threw that wild pitch to Ross that allowed 2 runs to come home. Remember that?
Yes.
That's when I started to get like, oh my God, like, okay, I need to relax. I need a pace. Oh my God. Right. And then Ross hits that solo homer, gave me like a little bit more jolt of positivity. I don't want to talk about this too much because even though they won, it still makes everybody feel ill.
It makes me shudder for sure.
When Rajay Davis hit that home run, I've never before, never since, no breakups, no relationships, no friendships. I've never felt that sick in my entire life. I laid down. I had this little stair base at my mom's or when we had it there, and I took a pillow and I laid down fully horizontal for about 10-15 minutes, and I did not watch the TV. I just listened.
Wow.
That's how sick I was. And then, of course, the rain delay was huge for me as it was for everybody else to just kind of regroup. And then when Schwarber leads off that inning with a base hit, I was like, we're winning. I was like, we're going to win this game. We're winning this game. You know what I mean? And then, obviously, the rest is history.
Were you facing down or facing up?
I had my head in the pillow.
I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say millions of hearts dropped when that homer was hit. It was a colossal hit that was an implosion, is what it was. And the delay was an interesting reset, because I remember finally going to my phone during the delay, and I remember sending some messages like, "Hey, this could be good. What if this is good for the Cubs?"
Right.
And then I missed the Schwarber hit because I was, kind of doing laps around the house and kind of checking in on the phone. And then it was like, wow, Schwarber got a hit. I was like, what? Wait, they started?
Right.
So it was kind of like a sprint back to the TV, turn the radio up again.
Sure.
The whole Schwarber journey coming back to the World Series is legendary.
No, it's a book.
You understand why fans have connections to these players.
Of course.
We've talked about it so much already on this iteration of the show. But it's like, dude, I get it because of just moments like that. I still remember my cousin Mike sending videos from the Arizona Fall League. Hey, look at Schwarber getting ready to come back. And so the Fowler hit was incredible. It was a rush of adrenaline. You had there's a few more moments. There's some stuff with Chris Bryant. I mean, his at bats and his gameplay that game was outstanding. You had his slide in the fourth inning that I know people have kind of uncovered in years after. I still remember when he hit the fly ball to right center.
Thought that ball was gone.
I thought it was gone. Albert Almora tagged up from first to second. Miggy Montero was a hero in that game. Obviously, Ben Zobrist is going to be a part of the statue. So there's just a lot of good things.
So that 10th inning, Schwarber leads off with a base hit.
Boy, Bryant hit that ball hard, huh?
Bryant hits a ball off the bat. The ball had been really carrying the center and right center all night.
Yes. And
it kind of dies at the track. Almora tags up, man on second, 1 out. The second that they walked Anthony Rizzo, I said to people I'm watching with, I go, this is a colossal mistake by Francona. If I am facing the Cubs, if I am betting against the Cubs, with all due respect to Rizzo, with all due respect to KB, the last guy I want to face with the game and series on the line is Ben Zobrist. The last guy. He is. If I'm rooting for the Cubs, he's first. If I'm playing against him, he's last. I was like, this is a mistake. This is why this guy is here. And he puts together a great at-bat. He grows into the at-bat. He gets the base hit. And then immediately, I'm celebrating. We need another one. We need a lead. And then Montero gets the hit. And then I'm starting to think, okay, we're going to win this game by 10, by 5-6 runs, right? And then, of course, Hayward comes up and whiffs. And I don't remember who else made another out. But yeah, it was that I'll never forget the confidence that I had when Zobrist stepped up to the plate in that spot. And that's why I talk about these guys like Horner and whoever. I want that confidence back because that was the biggest at bat that we'll ever see. And I that was the most calm I was. I said, this guy's going to deliver here.
That being the reason he was there is a phenomenal line.
It is,
though. I got goosebumps when you said that.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
Oh my
he
gosh.
he was the perfect player for those guys. And sure, Rizzo might have delivered. I'm not saying he
Yeah.
wouldn't have, but I was like, fine, give us first base, give us another guy out there, and this guy is going to find a way to get a big base hit.
How about Carl Edwards Jr., 2 quick outs?
Yeah, and then it got really weird. Like that 10th inning, I kind of like black out, right? So Edwards gets
Okay.
the 2 outs. It's like, oh, we're up 2, this game's over. Then you blink, and Rajay Davis is starting to hit again, like Ricky Henderson. It's 8-7. Then the only other thing I remember saying is when Michael Martinez came to hit, I said the only thing I'm worried about is a cheap single, some broken bat, little dribble. And right off the bat, I literally just scream out loud. I go, "You got to be kidding!"
Right.
Yeah, because off the bat, I thought that was an infield hit.
Mike
I thought that
Montgomery on the mound.
Yeah, I thought that for sure. I didn't realize Bryant was playing in. That was like a very underrated play by Bryant. He made that look easy.
Yeah.
And off the bat, I'm thinking bare hand, throw it away, 1-run scores. Here we are. You know what I'm saying? And then Joe Buck, who's always like just like a tad a second ahead of
Right.
everybody else.
Right.
I could hear the inflection in his voice. I'm like, oh my gosh, we just won.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then the celebration. There's some YouTube video out there if you look at because I was doing some YouTube stuff at the time, so I had the whole game recorded. And there's like the Cubs win the World Series compilations. There's some compilations of me celebrating it if you're ever bored.
There is?
Yeah, I could show you next time I see it. I was wearing a Luis Suarez Barcelona jersey. That's how you know it's me. Oh, and the fact that I look skinny and the same as I do right now. Yeah.
Someone should do a sports science on that Bryant play.
Yeah.
Because the throw he made had to have been 85 across the diamond.
No, it was
silly.
The whole night. And then I remember like the next few days, let's
get into that.
Keep in mind, I hadn't accomplished anything in life at this point. A part-time job. I graduated college. I was just a very basic, just turned 23-year-old guy living at home. You know what I mean? And I was just walking around like I just won the World Series. I was just saying, yeah, now I'll get to that. Let's just enjoy it. We did it. I did it. I didn't do anything.
Yeah. No, I didn't care what happened to me the next several months.
No, it was... Oh, man, just thinking about it. Like, to this day, and laugh at your free will, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. It is.
Yeah.
It is. I love sports, and that was it. I mean, that was it. And, we could talk ad nauseum about what the Cubs need to do, and we're going to.
Right.
We
already have.
And I want to win another one, and I want to celebrate, but at the end of the day, there is nothing. And that's why I get so frustrated when we do the Rizzo and the Baez and the Brian Spiel, because I am able to just say that is never going to be replicated. Those guys could have went the rest of their lives from 17 to never get a base hit again. It wouldn't have mattered. Like those guys did it, right? Mad. And nobody will ever forget that. I just am in the company where I'm able to move on and be like, hey, this is what needs to happen now. Those guys are done. Like, their legacy's good. They're done. They're set. Doesn't matter what they do, right? Like, anybody, Miguel Montero, Fowler, anybody that had anything to do with that World Series is set.
And the coaching staff was so good. Obviously there's some questions that were asked about decisions within the playoffs and especially that game framework, but that coaching staff was one of a kind. There's multiple major league managers that have come from that. So really just a really good combination of the staff, the players. The shots of Theo and Jed that Fox was showing were always you talk about being locked in.
They were like fans.
Those guys don't fake it, man. That was real.
Yeah. The way Madden handled game 6 and 7, bringing in Chapman in 6,
it makes you shudder.
And then having him be burnt out in 7 was so close to Joe Madden being the Dusty Baker of our generation. But it worked out.
We could reflect on it with more kindness and
who would you say, like, if you like, like, who would you say, Zobrist won World Series MVP? Is that the guy for you in that night that you look back on? Is it Montero? Is it somebody else? You mentioned Bryant. It just it speaks to the depth of the team. It's just so you can't pick one.
Boy, I would say as a writer, I'm a big opening hook guy, big attention getter.
So
So the
Fowler.
the Fowler home run, man,
Right.
that's unreal.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's like so many of these guys aren't even, the Addison Russells and Aroldis Chapmans of the world that really you don't identify with this core. Addison Russell hit he hit the grand slam in game 6 to bust the game open. He
No,
had the
he's
huge
phenomenal.
3-run home run at Dodger Stadium to,
Huge.
to give them a 3-2 lead going into Wrigley Field. And Chapman, yes, he blew game 7, but he demanded to go out that ninth inning. He posted a 0. He had pitched flawlessly before that. There's so many contributors. We always talk about Contreras, Baez, Bryant, Rizzo, Schwarber. And then the pitchers, obviously, but even like Russell was such a huge part of that team.
Rondon and Strope,
Right.
stuff,
Montgomery and
stuff
Edward.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
anyways,
it's
that
all
was
good
fun.
stuff.
I enjoyed doing that.
Oh, good, good. All right, so after we're gonna reset here. When we come back, we're gonna preview the rest of the week right here on Locked On Cubs. We're back here on Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Please stick with us for the rest of the week and beyond as we keep track of some news and notes, player grades, future transactions, and more, including Ian Happ winning the Gold Glove tonight. So we'll break that down for Thursday's episode and a whole lot more. Sam, anything else?
I'm excited to talk about Hap. That's a pretty cool honor. I personally didn't think he was going to get that, so I'm interested to read about that and
Awesome.
enjoy the day. Celebrate the anniversary. It will never get old, whether it's 6 years, 60, or 600 from above.
Yeah. Marquee is replaying the game. It lives on YouTube at any time that you want to click on that. So there's opportunities definitely for a rewatch.
Awesome.
So we'll keep an eye. I might do that myself this week as well. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for Locked On Cubs on YouTube and smash the like button and all your favorite Locked On Cubs content. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods on the audio side. And drop us a text this week about the World Series in 16 or anything else. 312-834-4634. Thanks for making Locked On Cubs your first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On Sports Today podcast. Locked On Sports Today is our 22-minute recap of the previous night in sports, which includes the 22 World Series, Phillies-Astros Game 3 on Tuesday night. Locked On Sports Today features local experts on each of the big stories, as well as the take of the day from one of the Locked On hosts. Very enjoyable episode for Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.